actually haul you out of here in handcuffs.
Well, it would be the first time, but I know I'll be well taken care of. It'd be a fair trial as you throw me in a cop car and hit my head and everything else.
Right?
Yes, just the zoning,
Okay.
working on zoning stuff, so
Alrighty, my friend.
don't shoot anybody while we're.
I'm not-
You two,
I'm not paid for
okay.
football.
That's
We're live on air.
Okay.
true.
Thank you.
Well, hey, take care, kid.
See you, Joe.
Okay.
Okay, we are, we're at, did you need something, Rob? I'm sorry.
No.
Okay. It is 4:01, all right. Municipal Planning Commission for November the 21st will now come to order. Mrs. Blankenhorn, please call the roll.
Mayor Starr.
Here.
Mr. Sawyers.
Here.
Mrs. Ellsworth.
Here.
Mrs. Filkins. Mr. Hawkins. Ms. Poland. Mr. Swallow. Mr. Deal. Mr. West.
Here.
We do have a quorum of
Just
four.
squeaked through with a quorum, all right, very good. Okay, I just want to read this every time we have a Municipal Planning Commission. It's part of this procedure that I read this today.
Sir,
Oh,
we're
I'm
doing
sorry.
historical review first.
Oh, historical review. So I mentioned municipal planning. So historical review. Please let the record reflect that it should be historical review, not municipal planning.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Nope.
Up, we've got
It's just me.
we've got another. There she is.
I got locked out.
Oh
I
no.
was like, no, yeah, have a seat right over there.
Oh, do we need to, is
like,
Todd still
Todd
there?
can do that.
I
Yeah,
can
for
do
us.
it.
Oh, you can do it? Oh, hey, Lacey can do it.
Outstanding. All right. Okay.
Thank God.
Back up to historical review then. Got the wrong thing up.
I guess we need to call it for municipal, or historical review.
Okay.
rather than Municipal planning.
I don't have to go through the whole thing that I had. So historical review committee in the packets, commission members were the historical review commission meeting minutes from July 11th, 2024. Are there any additions or corrections? If not, we'll entertain for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded for the approval of the meeting minutes. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. They are approved. Okay. We have two items here, HRC cases. Mrs. Blankenhorn, if you would start at the top, please, that'd be great. Well, they're both for the same property.
They're both
so-
for the same property. I split them up into an A and a B for voting purposes.
Okay.
So 2024 HRC 04A for 503 East High Street to raise the existing garage and build a new garage.
Okay. You would like to speak about this? Come on up here. We'll have you, there's a statement there. We'll have you swear in, and then the floor will be yours.
My name is Kevin Hughes. My address is 503 East High Street, Mount Vernon. I affirm that the testimony is truthful to the best of my knowledge and ability, so help me God, or under penalty of perjury.
Welcome, Kevin. So what do you want to do here?
Well, we're looking to tear down a 2-car garage and build a 3-car garage
Okay.
with a small apartment in the upstairs of
Okay.
it.
Okay, good. So we've got the drawings up here, and this A is just to tear the one down first, correct?
And
to
rebuild.
And to rebuild. So, okay, you're part of the Front Porch Concert Series then.
Yes, that's
Now I
our,
recognize the house.
Yeah.
There. All right, very good.
that's
Okay.
And it's the same people doing this project as did that front porch project.
Okay.
For us.
I'm just looking through the items there. Any questions that anybody have for Mr. Hughes? No?
Sure.
Okay, does anybody wish to speak? And that's, I think your pictures are pretty compelling here, so. Hang tight if we do have questions for you, but is there anybody else who wishes to speak about this particular project?
Bless you.
Bless you.
Thank you. They can require
Okay,
PC.
then I think we're.
Great.
Mrs. Blankenhorn, did you receive any communications?
I did not.
Mr. Braun, do you see any legalities with what's being proposed here?
Nope.
Well, hearing none, then I guess we will entertain a motion for this item.
So moved.
So move for the approval of Part A here,
On all second.
and it's been moved and second. Any discussion? Will you call the roll, please?
Mayor Starr.
Yes.
Mr. Sawyers.
Yes.
Mrs. Ellsworth.
Yes.
Mrs. Wilkins.
Yes.
Mr. West.
Yes.
Okay, that is approved. We'll move on to the next one then.
2024 HRC 04B for 503 East High Street, enclose a covered porch.
Okay. Mr. Hughes, you want to explain a little bit about what you want to do here then?
Sure. We have this, I call it a porch cove. What's not in that picture, if you imagine on the right side of that picture is where the house turns 90 degrees and comes out across our backyard. So that cove points into the yard, so nobody sees that except the Perrys next door.
Okay.
But that's a coved porch, so it's got, brick on both sides, and the roof is the existing roof that already goes across that way. And we now know there's even footer under the front of the porch. It's just an open porch. We'd like to close that in and turn it into a new a mudroom entry, and then a small bathroom right there, because there's actually no full bath on the first floor of that 1843 house.
Okay. All right. Any questions for Mr. Hughes?
Your plan is to match the existing brick?
The existing brick would be impossible
Well,
to match. So what we're doing, my thought is to use the same board and batten that we're
Okay.
using on the garage project.
Okay.
And then across the bottom, either a brick. There are people who make like faux brick that can kind of look like it across the bottom.
Okay.
But actually, the house is sandstone. Those huge sandstone
Okay.
blocks across the bottom. So maybe the other option was a sandstone faux across there.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's the brick examples that I found of a company that does make a really old pre-fired brick look.
Like facade?
But it might be hard to, up on the house, it might be too close to not be noticeable.
Yeah.
But we might do that on the garage or the sandstone look, so that it's in keeping with the sandstone we already have all the way around the perimeter of the house.
Okay. Any other questions for Mr. Hughes? Mrs. Blankenhorn, did you hear any comments or questions or concerns?
I did not.
Okay. Mr. Braun, are there any legal matters that you would see?
No.
Then hearing none, we'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
So move for the approval of this item as well. Is there a
Yes.
second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded for the approval of this. Any discussion? Mrs. Blankenhorn?
Mayor Starr.
Yes.
Mr. Sawyers.
Yes.
Mrs. Ellsworth.
Yes.
Mrs. Wilkins.
Yes.
Mr. West.
Yes.
It is approved. Okay.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Good luck. Can't
Thank
wait to
you.
see it. Ready for the spring?
Yeah,
All
hopefully by
right.
spring.
Okay. Well, is there any other order of business for the Municipal Planning Commission?
Historical review.
Did it again. Man, I'm so sorry, everybody. Historical Review Commission, I'm so sorry. Any other business? Then we'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you. Congratulations. Yeah. Can't wait to see it. So, should we give a minute before we start, or go ahead? Yeah, let's take a minute.
He's like playing with the refrigerators somewhere. All right.
Thanks, Lacey.
Thank you.
that was a good meeting yesterday.
I don't know why.
Oh my God.
More stuff.
This has been, it's never, no matter what you do, you're blamed for not doing it.
Right.
Just gets
No, I like their approach. I enjoyed the process.
These
They
guys
knew-
are
I am just impressed with how he, with how, like, all the different types of people he has in there. I'm like taking notes from them. And they're in volunteer meetings.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
He's very good.
I've enjoyed it.
Oh, God, Jake, how you been, man?
Just
Busy. How's
Busy,
business
busy.
going?
doing really well. We landed a new account, so we've got a couple new presses coming in
Outstanding.
3 weeks. We'll add probably, say maybe 3 hourly associates. We brought in a management staffer to kind of help drive more activity once that business comes on, but it should, I'd say it's a 30% boost to our top line, which is, that's pretty good. I mean, the automotive business has been awful, but energy has been fantastic, it's been great. So it's excellent. Yeah, it's really, it's busy. It's really, really busy, but that's what we want. Good. Very good. Yeah. It's good.
Okay. Ready to get started?
Yes.
The municipal Planning Commission meeting will now come to order. Mrs. Blankenhorn, please call the roll.
For November 21st, 2024, Mayor
Thank you.
Starr,
Here.
Mr. Sawyers.
Here.
Mrs. Ellsworth.
Here.
Mr. Hawkins, Mr. Swallow, Mr. Deal, Mr. West.
Here.
We do have a quorum.
And that was great teamwork, by the way. Thank you very much for that, filling that in. AC. That's
It helps on my recording.
I know it does. I usually say that, but I'm just so flustered today. Anyway. All right, well, don't really have a huge audience here. I don't know if I necessarily need to read this, but I'll just get the highlights here. This is a public meeting. We do follow rules of decorum, and we're committed to the democratic process. Individual rights of expression, robust debate, tolerance for different viewpoints. We do expect people to follow rules of civility, addressing others in a respectful manner, no insulting, no harassment, no willful destruction, and no disruptive behavior. If you do have cell phones or you do have electronic devices, please make sure they are silenced and they don't interrupt the proceedings. If you need to come and go, you can. Just do so in the least disruptive manner possible. If you're offering public comment, you must first be sworn in by reading the statement at the lectern. And again, the purpose of the commission to oversee the law and follow the plan, and the plan occurs within the spirit of which those laws and regulations have been adopted by the city of Mount Vernon and the state of Ohio. So, council, commission members, you have had in your the packets the meeting minutes from October the 10th. Are there any additions or corrections to those? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded for the approval of the October 10th commission meeting minutes. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. They are approved. One item, follow-up. Mrs. Blankenhorn, will you please read the item, and then we'll bring Mr. Updike up here. So.
This is a continuation of 2024 MPC 17 for South Main Street parcels 66-05624.000, parcel 66-05627.000, parcel 66-05628.000, and parcel 66-05629.000. A zoning amendment from R1A to a revised R3.
Okay, thank you. And revised to R3. Got it, yeah.
We've gone back and forth a couple times. It was R3, then we said R4, but I got clarification from Ms. Moeller, who helped us with the zoning code update. R3 really didn't change from what it used to be. It still allows structures, whether it's a single family, a duplex, a triplex, or 4 or more in a single structure. The difference between R3 and R4 is the density allowed on a parcel. So
Okay.
in this case, with the small parcel, we can go with the proposal of R3 and still allow him to do single, duplex, triplex, or 4 or more in a building.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Updike, you want to come on up and have you read that statement, and the floor will be yours. So.
My name is Joe Updike. My address is 18254 New Gambier Road, Mount Vernon, Ohio. I affirm that my testimony is truthful to the best of my knowledge and ability, so help me God, or under the penalty of perjury.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, so thanks for coming back and doing some follow-up work for us to give us some ideas. So if you want to just explain a little bit about what you had in mind,
Yes.
that'd be great.
Yes, and one, thank you for tabling this. I didn't come loaded properly the last time with more of a viewpoint. So I appreciate your latitude to come back.
Sure.
My ignorance was not a sign of disrespect to the committee at all.
No worries.
So I went back and found a couple of options, 4 different options. But at least they're a ranging version of options, kind of the whole spectrum. Option 1 is it would be 2 triplexes of that look, and that's just something off the internet for a triplex. They will fit within the setbacks. I've listed a little spec sheet with the building footprint. They're 2-bedroom, 1.5 bath, 1-car garage. It leaves us with a parking area of about 120 by 90, which will fit enough parking spaces to support that. And then 6 total units on the property. I did a drawing. I'm not an architectural CAD person. I'm more of a mechanical CAD person. That shows the placements. To the north, horizontally is Parrott Street. The vertical would be South Main, and then the lower horizontal is Adamson. So that shows the buildings situated, the parking in between them. The only liberty I took, and I'm not sure if I'm allowed to do this, is I put the entrance to the parking lot on the rear 20-foot setback. I don't know for sure if that's allowed or not. But the only other option would be opening that alley up and then coming in. And I would rather see this than open the alley, because the alley is actually the neighbor's driveway. I don't know if he knew that when he bought the house like a year ago, that his driveway is a non-vacated alley or not. But I'd rather try and be a good neighbor and put it on the rear setback than take his driveway, so to speak.
Okay.
Option 2, all these are very similar. Option 2 is 2 fourplexes, and that is one that's already in town. It's on South Division, just south of the Mount Vernon High School football parking lot. So it fits the footprint in accordance with all the setbacks. leaves enough parking for everything and would be 8 total units on the property. And then option 3, it's more of it's a 4-unit, like an up and down, 2 units down, 2 units up type of thing. Again, the placement on the property, similar with all of them, but that would be 8 total units on the property. Still allow enough parking spaces to support that. And then option 4 is just a basic triplex. 2 basic triplexes, and that would be 6 total units on the property. Parking is enough to support the amount of cars needed. And that. From the last meeting, Mr. Broering wondered if it would all fit with the setbacks. So by doing this and laying it out, it does deem that it will fit within all 4 of these examples will fit within the setbacks without any variances or anything, other than the driveway. I don't know if that needs to be a variance.
Wow.
I don't know if you're allowed to put a driveway on your setback.
Potentially, yes.
I mean, the real issue is going to be whether or not we want 2 openings right there on the street, right next to each other, that close to the intersection.
Openings,
Street openings?
I thought it would be all in the back.
It'll all be off of Adamson.
Yeah, but you need a street opening to Adamson to get from his property to this Adamson Street. You have to do a street opening there.
Oh, yeah, okay, I'm with you. But you said 2 street openings.
Yeah, well, there's the alley right next to it that's already there.
It's
Okay.
And
really not, it's really that guy's driveway.
Well, but it's city property.
oh, yes, yes.
Yeah, so this is city property, and yes, he's using it as that, but basically what you would end up with is
Right beside, yes, exactly.
2 right there, and I'm unclear about the traffic rules about having these 2 this close to this intersection.
Okay, got you.
That's
I have an opening right here now that they put it when they redid the new curbs.
so.
So it would be taken out and moved, more or less moved down, but I understand.
Yeah, it's the 2 right next to each other that I'm just not sure enough about.
Or we
The
could look
traffic.
at creating the apron for the
Alley.
alley that would
Yeah.
also serve as an entrance into your property.
Yeah, I mean, that,
Straighten up that driveway, and it would be,
yeah,
use it for both properties, east and west.
Yes, it could be a common type thing. I don't know exactly how he parks, but
Well-
some of his driveway was the alley.
Well,
And
you can't park on the city alleys, so.
yes. So yeah, but it will fit. The driveway may be the only detail to iron out. The max amount of units would be 8 total. I mean, that's all that parking will support. That's all that the acreage will support. And then another concern Tanner had on the R4, but we found out that R4 is not needed. It's overkill for this because we can't have the density in that
Sure.
square footage or acreage. So that's about all I've got to present.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Updike then? That ease your concerns?
It's the same general. It's the same entrance option for each layout, yeah?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
I am open to I know coming out of the parking lot heading west into South Main would not be convenient,
ideal.
especially that close to the
It's
intersection.
not gonna, yeah.
And coming off Parrott to the north is right across from the drive-through entrance, which could not be optimum. That seemed the most, I don't know what you call it, easiest, less disruptive
Right, yeah.
to have an entrance.
And the vacancy in between the buildings is what you're proposing as the parking?
Parking, yes.
Okay. So this is a, well, let me ask this first. Is there anybody else who wishes to speak on this matter?
I'd like to speak in general, sir.
Do you come up and read the statement, and floor will be yours, Mr. Mahan?
My name is James Mahan. My address is 226 Delano Street. I affirm that my testimony is truthful to the best of my knowledge and ability under penalty of perjury. Thank you all, and thank you, Mr. Updike, for your interest in investing in the First Ward. If you'd permit me, and forgive me for being Captain Obvious, the residential things that Mr. Updike has presented are clearly within R3. I just want to remind the board that if I have an imperfect understanding of the code, but I reviewed it last night, the size of an R3 building is up to 45 feet, which I don't see any of these that are 45 feet tall, but technically R3 would allow that. Screening is the requirements for screening for an R3 next to an R1A are pretty limited. You would only have to screen off a dumpster, so they wouldn't be required to do any other screening. And there are additional permitted and conditional uses under R3. So if this is approved, I would just like to make sure the commission remind the commission that R3 is a little wider than just these residential. Also, as sitting on council, if the recommendation comes to council, we're going to be discussing this, and I imagine there'll be public interest. So I'd appreciate if you have, a yes or a no vote, if you could put on the record your thoughts as to why yes or no. So when it comes to council, we'll have a full understanding of why municipal planning made the recommendation. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you. Anybody else have any? And Mrs. Blankenhorn, this is a recommendation to City Council that we're voting.
Correct.
Did you hear any communications or phone calls, emails?
I have one email.
Okay.
Mrs. Blankenhorn, could you please enter the following into the record during this evening's municipal planning meeting? Board members of the Municipal Planning Commission, I would like to continue my opposition to the rezoning of the parcels on South Main Street, currently owned by Joseph Updike, with a more educated appeal. According to the new base zone districts, Chapter 1105, core residential districts R1A encourage the creation and preservation of higher density single-family residential neighborhood. Attached residential district R3 will encourage orderly medium-density residential development with multifamily or a mix of different housing types. Throwing in 2, 3, or 4 multifamily houses across 4 parcels is not orderly, nor is it a preservation of our single-family residential neighborhood. The words orderly and preservation were intentionally written into the language and should not be dismissed when considering this zoning request. By following the language of the city's own code, this request does not, in my opinion, meet the new standards to be rezoned. In addition, it would be helpful to have the proposed height of these buildings on the record. Mr. Updike provides the footprint for his proposal, but not the height. To me, this is important because the code does address maximum height of principal buildings. In R1A, the max is 35 feet. In R3 and R4, it is 45 feet. My house, with a generous estimate, is 25 feet high. I would say at least 80% of the houses surrounding this property are single-level houses like mine. To get maximum return on investment, no one is going to build a one-story rental structure, so with rezoning, we can probably expect those units will be built to that height maximum. Adding 45-foot tall apartment buildings in an R1A neighborhood does not preserve our neighborhood character and is not orderly residential growth. I did send a text to Mr. Updike asking if he will build on this property or if he intends to sell it if rezoned. I am still interested in his answer. Finally, I would like for the mayor to consider an alternative. Ask council to purchase the property and turn it into a neighborhood park like we see in other areas of the city. Keeping these lots green space adds charm and character to our neighborhood, an area that could be gateway into the city should Intel actually come to fruition. With the city as the owner, we preserve green space and provide funds for Mr. Updike to invest in other ways. I appreciate your time and thoughtfulness on this issue. Samantha Scholes, 12 Parrott Street, Mount Vernon.
Any other correspondence?
That's all.
Okay. Mr. Barn, do you see any legal concerns with this, or what's going through your mind here at this point?
In regards to Ms. Scholes, while she talks about, you know, the maximum height, that there are density limitations that would likely keep Mr. Updike or anyone who would build on the property from going that high, just because there wouldn't be any economic incentive to do so. Because when you go that high, you're getting significantly more dense, and the amount of property here, it won't sustain that level of density. So I suspect, just from doing the sort of the back of the envelope calculations, I suspect that he could not reach that level. I mean, he could reach that level, but I don't know that that space would be economically viable for use.
Yeah.
Yes, one, and he's exactly right, because parking. If you would stack more units on to like a third floor, the parking lot can't support it with 2 spaces per 2-bedroom unit. So it wouldn't be within code or wouldn't get approved if you did that. The highest is a 2-story, and I don't know if you say each floor is 8 foot, or even if you say each floor is 10 foot with the joists and everything else, that's 20, and then there weren't really tall peaked roofs. I'd say 25, 26 foot would be the max height of a 2-story unit with a normal pitched roof.
Okay.
Again, I'm not an architect, but
Yeah.
that's a rough guideline.
Okay. Mr. Barn, anything else come to mind?
No.
Yeah, no, the height is one of the areas I know that was a major concern.
Yeah.
In that, so yeah, that's good to know. Thank you. Didn't hear any engineering. Well, we heard engineering last time. There was nothing, no concerns that were voiced at that particular thing. Their only concern was not having cuts out into South Main Street. That was it.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Are there other similar units like this in this neighborhood? As I look on the auditor's site and just kind of get a general overview of the character of the community, I don't see it. I mean, it's an R1 community.
Depends
So-
on how far down you go on South Main Street. If you go, I don't know, up towards where South Main sort of makes that turn at Mount Vernon, there are a number of multi-unit housing right down after you go past Pizza Hut and where Sam Miller's place and Snyder's and Sam Miller's places. There are a number of
Condos, what's it?
there are a number of
Sure. You also
multifamily.
get into some,
And behind the funeral home.
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
you're getting into some commercial use back there, but I think
Riley
you-
Street as well has some of these.
sure.
Is the home on the other side of the drive-through a duplex?
On the other
That-
side of the drive.
Yeah.
Oh, to the north
South.
of it?
Yeah.
That's a,
Yes.
that's an
Might be.
R2, I thought.
I can't show
It
this.
looks like it is, but
Yeah.
I don't know if it's
Right.
used that way.
Yeah.
It's zoned office institutional.
Okay.
So I just look out, really between,
So this, go ahead. I'm sorry.
just between Delano, Parrott, go down Adamson, Ames. Like, I don't see a lot of this in these streets.
We can.
Are you looking at actual structures or zoning? Because oftentimes I've found that the older apartment buildings may not be zoned for them. They're zoned R1, but they have multi-units.
Sure, no, I'm looking at the actual structures.
We're not into design right now. That would have
Correct.
to come to the,
Well, no, is that
this is
He's,
This is just the
he-
rezoning.
he's going, yeah, I mean, he's not going to need a plat or anything like that for the R3. And that's where you sort of get into the issues of, if you change it to R3, while he's given us some drawings that certainly would look appropriate, as Mr. Mahan pointed out, there are other uses for R3, as well as while these are potential ones, there are other ones that might be able to be put on there. We just don't know.
Right.
That's the one thing where we're using a PND.
Mahan, what other uses for R3 are there?
Oh,
Well, I'm glad you asked. He says.
I want to know too. I wondered myself.
Forgive me, this, I don't have this marked up. And if someone gets to it faster. Mayhan, by the way, like the month of May.
sorry. That's Meyer.
It's okay, Mr. Brown.
All the pizza places in town.
Transitional housing, short-term rental, I'm still trying to find the page.
Short-term rental can be in an R1 as well.
Yeah.
Is that like an Airbnb?
A small,
Is intended to provide for and encourage orderly medium density.
yeah, I'm looking at the permitted, I was looking at the permitted uses and the, I don't have the page, I'm sorry. Those are accessory uses, excuse me.
Here we go. Blue.
Has anyone found the permitted uses yet?
Well, I am, but I'm looking, and anything that's not residential, they all look like they're the same across R, R1, R2. So if you take like educational institution, it's a permitted use, but that's also permitted in R1 and R2. Conditional use of a active recreational use is conditional across all residential designations.
Okay, there was a page where there were several that it didn't start until you got to R3. Do you have the permitted use page number by any chance?
No, because this is the draft that was approved, and I'm also looking online at the chart that doesn't have a page number.
Page numbers. It's under 1105.03.
Yeah.
Yeah. 1105. What was the after 1105?
03,
03, okay.
it's a colored chart is what you'll be looking for.
Those are established zoning districts, base zoning district. I was looking for, there's a chart.
That right there.
Principal uses, there we go. So on page 68, at least in this document, permitted is a conditional is bed and breakfast that's not permitted in R1. That's conditional. And you're correct, short-term rentals is permitted across the board. Well, I'm not finding what I was looking at before, so I apologize for taking the board's time, but there are things that residential facility large, which I understand, again, is not Mr. Updike's plan,
Well,
but
that's all, the residential facility large is going to require state
okay.
permitting.
Okay, I apologize, I'm not finding, and as you said, most of those are available across all the way to R1, R2, et cetera. But there was another page I'm not finding, but I don't want to waste any more of the board's time, so.
So I hopped over. I actually used to live across when I first moved to Mount Vernon. I lived across from was it option 2 over by South Division Street. I was kind of looking at the way that those multifamily units are split from the other R1 units. And there's, larger yard sizes. There's some green space. There's some buffering. Or screening, if you want to call it that, with fencing and whatnot. I see that in that location. I don't see room for that.
Where are you looking?
So over on South Division, you're looking at where Mr. Updike kind of used that as an example. And then you look at the community behind that, around the school, across the street. Using that as an example, that community, the way that, we talk about transitioning from, multifamily into an R1 neighborhood where it's single family, there's got to be, in my mind, you should be able to see the transformation of that community. And there's got to be space to do that. You can't just go from multifamily, next house, single family.
To the rear, there's a fence there, correct? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, there's a lot of trees, there's fencing, there are larger yards that allows for that space. And you can start seeing the transition of the neighborhood. These are different types of housing, these are different types of neighborhoods, different
Yes,
types of density.
Those cul-de-sac properties do have bigger yards.
And it's not even in that cul-de-sac, it's even on Martinsburg Road as you go down. There was a larger farmhouse on 214 Martinsburg Road, ask me how I know. There's a larger yard behind it, and that's when that transition on Martinsburg Road starts to R1 uses. Now, are there duplexes on Martinsburg Road? Probably. But even a duplex, obviously that can look like a single-family home. So,
You're talking that triangle where South Division meets
Yep.
Martinsburg. That is your separation.
sure. Well, and behind that, too. I'm trying to get back over there. Hard to do it on a phone. I say all of that to say, I can see how that has been incorporated there in those developments and in that community. Using that example, I don't see how that could happen in this location.
But if you say that these duplexes or these triplexes could look like a single home, have the appearance of that, which is
I think
modern designing.
duplexes could make that happen. I don't think if triplexes are there and you have to create a large parking lot.
If we're gonna really have a debate about this, we
Yeah.
really need to put something on
We
the.
need to put it on the
Yeah.
table
We
here.
need to put a motion on the floor,
Is there a motion, or any other concerns, Mr. Boren?
not of which
Then-
I can figure out.
The chair will entertain a motion
Thanks, no.
So moved.
for
Second.
the approval.
Yeah.
Okay, and second?
Second.
Okay, discussion now. I understand
I
you
didn't
don't-
need that.
you don't-
I felt like I just shut
No,
up
that's
the debate.
okay.
I'm
That's
sorry
all
about
right.
that.
No.
So, Mr. Saliers, you're suggesting that having a lower density,
Yeah. I think
Structure.
even at R3,
two duplexes versus.
yeah, two
triplexes.
duplex. Can you do two duplexes in an R3? That's not the appropriate zoning for two duplexes, is it?
Yeah, no,
Okay.
I mean. it-
Well,
it
you
includes-
could, but should you? Is R2 more appropriate for duplexes?
R3 provides for an allowance of single-family, two-family, or three-family structures.
Okay. So to clarify the process, we rezone. It goes to council for
Well,
approval.
you make a recommendation to.
Let me
yeah.
rephrase. We make a okay, Rob. We make a recommendation to council. This guy approves it, and then it comes back to us for a site plan approval.
No.
No.
That's the thing.
And that's my
That's
concern.
the difference
So I'm just
between
giving him a
R1,
bottle of liquor
R2,
and some car
R3.
keys and a Ferrari, and hoping that he's a trustworthy guy.
Yeah, I mean,
If it were a planned,
Yeah.
if it were a planned development.
Sure.
That would have to come back to us.
Yeah.
It goes through a zoning review.
yes, but if he hits,
Stormwater,
if he hits all of his markers, if he's 20 feet off the back end, 30 feet off the front end,
Sure.
he
It's a
hits his stormwater issues and he has
44-foot
enough parking,
duplex.
then he just has to hit his state. The state will then inspect him because for the multifamily,
Sure.
although actually even with 3, they might,
no,
no.
4 or more.
Yeah, so if he kept it to 3, he wouldn't have any state inspections either, which is probably a reason to do that, rather than to do the 4. So
Is another option to do one building of 4 versus 2 buildings?
yes, but if you did one building of 4, you would have state inspection because it have
Because it's
4
a 4.
units. But if you did
Okay.
2 3s, there would not be state
Avoid that.
inspection.
I would just say, I don't have a problem with the options, although the 4 unit, that looks like it's getting up pretty high there. I mean, I don't, that's just from, in terms of being able to serve as a transition area, which is what I think this is. I have fewer issues with this rezone to be able to provide housing options, which is in our strategic plan and our comprehensive plan anyway, in all neighborhoods, not just one neighborhood, but every neighborhood can have a mix of these types of these areas. And so, Mr. Mahan, that's my reason, is being able to provide as much density as we possibly can to help keep utility costs down, to keep the cost of living affordable and having options. I am less stressed about this. I think that now with modern designing, that you can make a 3-unit apartment look like one house. And so there are companies that do that. And anyway, I know it's important to continue the look and the feel of the neighborhood. And I think there are lots of options that would be out there. So that's where I'm coming from, Mr. Mahan, so you asked reasons, and that's why. So anyway, that's where I'm falling on this. But I am 1 vote.
And I like your idea with the transition, because if you did single-family homes there, they're looking at blue walls. for the
So if this needs to
drive-through.
be on the record, I need
Yeah,
to get the mic, please.
yeah, you'll have to come up on the microphone there.
If you would do single-family homes, that puts them looking west, or then the corner lot could go north or west. But that puts them just looking at industrial space or commercial space. And part of the original request was it makes for a good transitional property, kind of a buffer to the rest of the R1 community behind it, or to the east, Adamson and Parrott Streets.
Anybody else?
I'm inclined to agree with you, Mayor. If this were in any other place in this neighborhood, I might have stronger feelings in the other direction, but being on that facing the industrial part and having the drive-through just to the north of it, I see this as a sort of complementary aspect to the buffer, as you talked about, Mr. Updike. So Mr. Mahan, that's my opinion. If it were in any other part of that neighborhood, I would be more concerned about the R1 status. But being right there on that sort of busy intersection of Parrott and South Main Street, right across from Blue Ball, I think it's a perfectly reasonable request.
If it was in the middle of Adamson or Parrott or any of the east-west streets, I wouldn't go for that.
Yeah.
You know,
And I feel like you've been fairly responsive to the neighbors' requests and concerns, you know, talking about the alleyway and taking our feedback about the design of it. So I have faith you're not going to build something that's like, you know, 45 feet tall.
no, no.
Yeah.
Well, in the parking, if I could do, I don't know, 4-story falls in 45 foot, but you have to have 2 parking spaces.
Correct. Right.
Or really like 1 parking space for each bedroom. And if you went to that much density, it wouldn't get approved because you wouldn't have enough parking to support it. Then I put a parking garage in, which probably would be a hard.
We would not recommend that
Yeah.
as the city.
Yes.
Jason, do you have any concerns or questions?
Nope, no, I don't. I do very much, I guess, see the need to kind of balance private property rights and be respectful of the folks that are very much invested in that neighborhood. Gentleman to your right, definitely I echo a lot of his sentiment. I don't have any questions.
Okay.
And
Mr. Salyers.
yeah, just to clarify, I don't disagree, while making the exact same statement, there are, 100 plus R1 properties in that area. There are also 100 R1 properties in that area, which means there aren't very many opportunities for, young families like myself at one point to come in and have rental opportunities in the south side of town. There's a need for it, and there's, if not that property, where's the transitional part of the community, right? So, do I contradict myself? Very well, then I contradict myself. But simultaneously,
We all do.
We're human.
yeah. So, again, my concern is not so much the area that it is in. Simultaneously, the argument that it's facing blue ball, therefore we can just slap a 4-tiered layer cake of, you can face it another way if it's single family. I mean, it's fine if you're willing to buy it. But my concern is, again, the density and, the egress for that many people. You've got to, even if it's 6 or 8 units, what's that many vehicles coming back in through there? If I don't live over there, and I have to put myself in the position of somebody that lives right next door to it, driving in through there. And I don't want to tell you what to do with your property, but how many of these have you developed?
None.
There you go. So,
Any other discussion? Mrs. Blankenhorn?
Mayor Starr?
Yes.
Mr. Salyers?
no.
Mrs. Ellsworth?
Yes.
Mr. West?
No.
Well,
We are at a draw.
quite a pickle.
Mr. Broran, what do we do from here?
That goes to municipal planning has now taken an action. It now goes to council without any recommendation.
Okay. So we have a split decision here. The minutes will reflect that it's split, and it will go to city council without a recommendation. And congratulations,
Yeah, good
Mr.
luck with
Mahan. You will get the chance to hear it all over again. So anyway.
Now you get to whip council. Welcome to my world.
Sorry we couldn't give you a decision one way or the other, but you'll have a chance to present it to city council and make your case.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Is there any other business before the commission? And is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. We are adjourned. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for your time.
And I do appreciate.
I saw that.
I've seen this is gonna happen.
Yeah.